Good morning, guys. My name is Ayush Agarwal. Today we are going to look at the modifiers part 2. Last section we just look at in the theory of modifiers, but now today we will see the practical uses and see how they practically used in the Blender. So first of all, I want to clear some things. Like I am currently using Blender 2.9 instead of 3 because it is more stable version. And other than that, if you are using 3, there is no problem in it. You guys can perfectly use it. Whatever I will do here will be also be applicable in Blender 3.2. So let's start. We will just go in general, and we will get a default cube. Before going to modifiers, let's just see some basics, because I think some of you guys are just new to the Blender. So to move around in viewport, you need to click on middle mouse button. You need to have a mouse. Trackpad really do not work as well in Blender as mouse. So by clicking the middle mouse button, you can just move around in this. Or if you want to go sideways, press shift and click left mouse button, and um, click middle mouse button, and you can just drag here and there. Other than that, we are currently in the object mode. We will be right now we will be just using object mode and edit mode. To go in edit mode, you can just click on and go in edit mode, where you can just change the vertices, or you can just play with the sides or the faces. Other than that, you can use the shortcut tab on your keyboard. By clicking on the tab, you can switch between edit mode and the object mode. Other than that, some basic shortcuts, like if you press G on your keyboard, you can just move around the object in the viewport. This is the viewport right now. And like to scale this object, press S key and drag your mouse. You can just scale these, and to unselect it, just press the escape button. uh, rest of, like, one more thing, like if you want to scale or you want to move your object in particular direction, you can just press the G button to move it. And then if you want to move it on the x-axis, just press the X on the keyboard. You can move it in the x-axis, or you want to move it in the y-axis, just press G and Y on your keyboard, and you can move it on the y-axis. Same for z-axis. Other than that, one more shortcut I just like to you guys know, that by pressing R, you can just rotate your mesh, and to rotate in any specific direction, you can just press X button, like for x-axis, for y-axis, and Z for z-axis. Okay, these are some basics which which I want to discuss. Now we will be moving on the main topic of this workshop. Let's just delete this default cube, and let's just start with fresh cube. So first of all, the modifier tab is this icon. When you click on it, you can see the bunch of modifier. These are some modifier. Like today we are just going to use we are going to look at in the generator modifier, because this is the modifier which is used the most when you are working in Blender. Other modifiers have their own purpose, but they are just used by more elite more elite designers who are just good in Blender. But right now, as we are on the basic level, we are just going to see all these generator modifier. If the time permits, we will go to deform modifier or physics modifier. So let's start with array modifier. From the name, it's an array modifier. It is the first modifier in generate. So let's just apply it. Let's just see what happens. Let now you can see that there is just one more square has just appeared, which you can't differentiate right now. But if I go into the edit mode, you can see that there is one more block, because it has the count too. Let's just go again to object mode, and if we increase it to 3, it will increase the count of cube into 3. But still, like, it is forming an array, but it is like single chunk of cube, single rectangle, cuboid, sorry. But if we want to increase the space, we can use the x factor, like factor x, because by increasing the factor x, it is the let's just see this panel first. It will be much easier you guys uh, to understand. Like right now we have this array modifier here. Fit type, we can change it into a fixed count, fixed length, fixed curve. We will be seeing individually all of them. We are seeing right now count, and these are relative offset and constant offset, object offset, and merge. Okay, these are some offsets and merge options. Let's just see all of them one by one. Right now we are in the fixed count and the count is 3. Let's just see what the relative count does. Let me go to the edit mode, and let me add some geometry to it. I just press the Control R option on the keyboard to add some edges. And okay, let's go to face select mode and let's just select it. Now if I extrude this option, you can see that if I'm extruding the face, the all the other arrays objects are also getting side shifted as I increases the length of this face, like this. But if I just control Z it, and instead of relative offset I just use the constant offset. um, let me just do it let me just do it in the object mode, and instead of this I just use the constant offset, and let's just do the x factor to like 2. Now we have constantly now it is a constant offset. If I increase this offset, it will if I increase the face length or anything, it will just do not be affected by the uh, affect the offset. Like let me show you, pressing the Control R, and we select. If I increase now uh, extrude this face, you can see that these are merging into each other, but they are just not going away from each other like in the relative offset, because it was relative to the main body and it was just uh, changing its direction as it's changing its offset as I increasing the length of it. Okay. Uh, let's just for now let's just skip the object offset, because we will be seeing it bit late. And UV and caps we are not going to see, because it is a completely different topics which we might cover in future. UV and UVs and this, and merge is I will show you merge in a bit. Okay, let's just delete all this stuff for now, and let's start with a fresh cube. uh, Let me add an array modifier again, and now we will see the fit length option. The fit length option, what it does is, like right now, let me show you again. What it does is, like right now our cube size is 2 meter. If I add the array modifier and I just go to fit length. Now, as I increases the length till the 2 meter, there is nothing. But after 2 meter, it just start adding cubes again. Right now, our offset is at factor at 1, so you can't see the gap. Let me increase it. If I increase it, the length also, but length is still 2, so you can't see the object clearly. But if I increase the length of it, you can see the object instantly. Here here the count is not matter, it is just based on the length. If I increase the length, the cubes will automatically be added. It is just not based on count, it is based on length. As the length increases, the space which is provided by us, like right now we have uh, 10 meters, so 2 meter of a cube and offset of 2, and this is the output which we are getting. This is what happens when you use the fixed length. What the fixed curve is do, it is quite interesting to see. Let's just use the fixed curve, and let's just delete this and start with a fresh cube. And let me use the array modifier and go to fixed curve. Now let me add a curve in it. To add the objects, I'm just using Shift A. So I forgot to tell you guys. Let me add a curve. Okay, right now we are having a curve. So if we use this curve as a base modifier, this, and if we increase the length of this curve, uh, if we increase the length of the curve in edit modifier, you can see that it is also increasing the length of this curve. But if you guys want, like, you want to fit this chunk of cubes on this curve, you can do it like by going to this and adding curve modifier, and let's just use it here. Now as you guys see that as the curve is rotating, it is all the object of object is also rotating with that only. If we increase the factor, and let's just do it this, and let me just make something out of the curve. I just press the E button. It is for extrude. The E here. As you guys can see that right now our object is following this curve path. It is not perfect because it will take a bit to make it perfect, but yeah, this is what happens when you use the curve path. I just let me show what I did, because I think you guys didn't saw it. I just first of all I used the array modifier, and there I just used the curve. Initially it was just following the length, but it was not following the path. To follow the path, I just used one more modifier from the deform modifier, that is curve. And we were going to see it in the bit late, but it was important to show you guys right now, because we can't see the purpose of the fit curve type. And just I just selected this curve, which is used for perfectly the perfectly following this curve. Okay, this was most of things which we can see in the curve. Let me show you the object offset, what it does. Let me just delete all this stuff, and let's add one more cube array modifier, and let's just increase the offset, and let's just say we have 5 blocks. Okay. For this, let me just move them aside. We will be using an empty plane, and after that okay, now as you guys can see, like, it is just I have just added an empty object, which is like it do not exist in reality, but it is just for the reference for the object. So I just added that, and when I just change the direction of it, or I just do anything to that object, like if right now I'm using the R button to rotate them, and if I want to rotate it on the Y axis, I can do that, and you can see that it is just taking a perfect. Let me add some more cubes, make a perfect circle. Let's just use I say 10, and let me just rotate it on the y-axis. Now you guys can see that it is just rotating around itself. And let's do one more thing. It will be a bit cool to do that. Let me just do it, and let me just select that empty object, and instead of that press Ctrl A and location. Now Now you guys can see that what it does is, let me just do it like this. Set. Now, let me increase bit more cubes and increase the. What I did was I just take a empty objects and use the array modifier, and I just changed the location of right. It was on the second cube, but I wanted that empty objects location to be in the center of this array. So what I did it was that I just changed the location of her cursor. I just press Control A, and you can just change the location of the cursor by of selecting that object. Like I selected the empty object and I just press the Control A. I made the center as the empty object, so I can now just move around that objects whatever I want to do, and like this it is just cool. These modifier can be used for making very different stuff. Right now I'm just showing this because we have not much time to, because we need to discuss many other modifiers. So this was the all about the array modifier. Let me just delete all this stuff. Okay, let's move on to other modifier. Now we will see the bevel modifier. Okay, bevel modifier, what it does is like it just from its name it suggests it just bevel the sides. If you increase the segments, it will just curve it more. From the amount, you can just change the amount. Here we have some more amount. Like right now we are using offset. We can use width. Like if we increase the segment, you can see that it is just more finer curves right now, instead of just mm, going into itself. Or you can even change the amount of the width, and just keep it below 10. Even the percentage modifier, like how much percentage you want of the width to be beveled. Like if I go to like 50%, you can see that it is getting a sphere form, and if we take just bit uh, to the extreme, it is like 7%, it is just beveling the sides bit. Or we can do absolute too, because this in absolute it just absolutely just bevel everything. It is the most used. I will not say most, but yeah, it is just not used must. Okay. One more thing. Some people get confused between the bevel tool and bevel modifier. So let me show you the difference. Let's just take two cubes. We will be using bevel modifier on this, and it will be on offset. And let me just increase the width, and let me just increase the segments to, let's say, 5. Okay. Now we will use the bevel tool. To use the bevel tool, press Control B in edit mode, and by this you can see. And to increase the segment, just roll your mouse middle mouse button. By rotating it, you can just add the bevel to it. Right now you can't see much of the difference between those two, uh, but there is a larger difference. Let me just undo it. For undoing, Control Z. In bevel modifier, you can just bevel all object, but in by using bevel tool, let me select a edge. Like I have selected this edge, and when I press the Control B, I can just bevel this side all along. I really don't need to bevel whole objects. Bevel tool is just used to bevel some sides or stuff, instead of just beveling the whole object. Some people just think that both of those things are the same, but they are not same. Bevel is just for beveling all this stuff. But to bevel a particular side, or let me show you one thing. Like even the corners you can just bevel. Okay, it is not working. So let's just uh, So you can do this Control B and you can just bevel it out. You can increase the segments by rolling your middle mouse button. uh, this, so you can see the difference, but there is no option to do it in the bevel modifier. And other than that, there are one more option. Right now we are just beveling the edges. We can bevel even the vertexes. To bevel the vertexes, like it is just same as that, but like you can't see it. Let me just do it to one. So right now it is just beveling this uh, corners. It is not beveling the vertex, not edges. It is just beveling the vertexes. So let me go to edit mode. You can see bit more difference there. If I apply this, let me just go and apply this. If I apply this now, you can see that it has just provided me the more geometry to work right now. It has just beveled the edges and I can now just use these vertices to work with. So this was the bevel modifier. So right now, till now we have seen the array modifier and the bevel modifier. I just used it again. Let me just do the control Z. These were the things. In the profile thing, you can customize all this by how much bevel you want, how you want to move that things. These are the things which are way advanced for us right now. We really don't need these stuff to go in geometry. You can just change all the shapes, and in the shading you can change the how these things will be shaded. But right now we really don't want to see this because it will be more lengthy and confusing for us to go into the depths. So let me just delete all this stuff and let me add one more cube. Cubes are our friend, which we just use them a lot. Okay, this is quite a cool modifier. Let me just add two cubes for this. G. Okay, let me just take this and let me add the Boolean modifier. Okay, Boolean modifier, and I need to give an object to it for difference. Let me just give this object, and right now you can see that initially what it does is, like, let me just cancel it. Right now you can see they are overlapping with each other right now. They are just overlapping with each other. But as soon as I just give a difference to this, you can see that there is bit change. Now they are just cutting each other instead of like you can see that initially when I was selecting the box, there you can see the inner boundaries of it. But as soon as I give this command to this block as difference, you can see that it is just cutting it. Let me show you in a other way because it will be way easier to you understand. Go and view display, share in wireframe. Okay, now you can see that what the boolean in boolean there are three modes: intersect, union, and difference. So right now we are using the difference modifier. So what it does is it just cut out the parts which are inside this other cube which I have given the difference. It will just trim all the stuff out of it and it will just provide you with the this empty shape. Like, let me just increase the size. By increasing the size I can just take whole cube and it will just disappear, and you can just cut it out like this. And let me just, now you can see that it is just cutting the things out. It is just making them invisible, and it can be used in different ways, like if you want to hide something, or while the animation, like if you want to animate anything, you can animate, like you can give the keyframes here, and like you want to do something cool from it, you can do it. It is for difference. It just subtract all the mesh from one block to another. Okay, what the intersect does, let me show you. If in boolean there, as I told you, that it has three modifiers, and this threshold thing is like what is the threshold of what you want to cut it out. So it is always set on low so that you just cut everything, you just do not mess that stuff. Okay, what the intersection is do is that it just from the name suggests that intersection. It just take what is the common between the two blocks. As I take the whole block box in it, you can see that it is just intersecting these two cubes, right? It is just taking the intersection of the cubes. If this some part is taken, you can see that only this part is visible, which is common in both the cubes, like intersection from the name what it suggests. It is doing the same thing. Okay, for the union, I need to delete all this stuff because let me just delete it. Let me just add one more cube here, and Boolean union. Let me give this. Okay. Let me just apply it so that okay. Union, from the name what it suggests, it just union the two blocks is in two boxes. Like, let me delete this one. Now as we go inside the boxes, you can see that these are hollow from the inside, and let me just change the clipping. Now you can see that these two boxes has been merged together, like they were the part of each other, and they just uh, working together. Instead of being the two separate objects, they have just union each other. So that is what the union modifier does. For this some users have problem in using the modifier. What is like in the other two, like in differentiation and intersection, you can just without applying you can see the changes, but in this without using the apply button you can't use them. Like, for example, a boolean and union, and no, just a bit wrong. Boolean union, and let me just take this box, and right now you can't see any difference, uh, only the artifact you can take. And right now if you take the box here and there, it will be just be messing up. You need to first apply this from drop down button and just apply. After that you can just move it and it is a union box. But in the other two, like in the other two, let me show you. In the other two, like, I'm just adding a modifier, boolean modifier and difference, and this one, and let me just do it the wireframe mode. In this you need not to apply, you can just see the changes itself right now, but in the union you need to just first apply it. This is what I want to tell you. Let's just move on to the other modifier. Okay, build modifier. It is just a, I will say, not that useful, but it is just something which look cool while working with some animations. Let me show you. You can create many different patterns out of it while animating. Let me just take this box a bit bigger and go to edit mode, and let me add some uh, edges to it by pressing Ctrl R. Ctrl R. I'm just scrolling the scroll wheel to add these edges. Let me just do this much and Control R. Let's set this much and Control R. Okay. I have just provided some geometry to it, like small. I have divided this big cube into small squares, 2D planes. It is hollow from the inside. Just if you guys are wondering. Now I will be adding, let me go to object view, and I will be adding build modifier. Now right now you can see that it has just disappeared, like, but as we play this timeline, I will be pressing the spacebar button to play it. You can see that this box is building itself from the geometry which we have provided. uh, if we hit the randomize button, you can just see that it will just randomly generate any blocks with any squares to form that full cube, which seems bit cool. You can just do you can just play with it a lot. Like right now, it just look bit like a Tezrec cube if I give a blue color to it. But yeah, so this is what it does. Build modifier. No other purpose I find it. If you guys find it, you can tell me in chat box if you guys know anything. Uh, this is random, and reverse is like it will just reverse it. If you check this works. Like initially it will be a full box and it will start disappearing bit by bit, and before it disappear completely. This was all about the build modifier, nothing much. You can just change the keyframes, like from where you want to start and where you want to end. It ends on the 100, the animation ends on the 100 frame, like at the 100, 101 everything will disappear. If you want, you can just do it like 250. It will be a bit slower, I think. Yeah, like now if you hit the play button, you can see that the squares are disappearing at a slow pace than the previous one, and at the 200, when it reaches 250, then it will just disappear everything. This is all about the build modifier. Let me just set my viewport again. Leave this cube. Let me add one more cube. It is just a bit easier to tell everything on the cube because everyone uses the cube. Okay, to tell the decimate modifier, we will be first looking at a subdivision surface. Okay, now when I click on subdivision surface, you can see that it just collapses into a sphere, which is not completely a sphere. Let me just add a bit geometry to it in the viewport. uh, it has just turned out to be a sphere, but it is not a sphere, promise you that. You need to what it does is like, right now what we are doing is like, we need vertices or we need edges to change the shape of an object. Subsurface modifier does that only. It just provide you with the geometry to work with it. uh, like if I apply this, let me just go to object node and apply it. Now you can see that after applying it, you can see that right now, initially we have only just four ed uh, we have just bit some vertices, and more like, yeah, we have four vertices, and now if we go to vertices, there are a lot many more vertices. So we can just individually move them. Like if you press G, you can just individually move them. You can just individually, you can do that. This modifier just provided us with the geometry to work with this modifier. So this is what subsurface modifier it does. It is just one of the most heavily used modifier, I will say, and it has just two modes, simple and this one, but mostly we will be using this. And what the render and the viewport does, like in render right now, what render in viewport, if you increase the segment, it will show you the better. If you increase the segment, you will just if you increase the level, you can see that it is getting more and more geometry to it, but it will be difficult for our computer to handle this much of the geometry. So what you does is like, you just work on low viewport. You can just use two second level for viewport, but you can increase like to 4 and 5 for the final render one. Like let me show you. Let's just say 4, and right, if you can see this, let me shift the camera, and if I press F12, you can see that right now you can see the geometry of this and compare it with this mm, viewport. Let me just you can see that there is a big difference between these two in their geometry, because we are just seeing it in the second level, but it on the it has rendered it on the fourth level. Fourth level is with more and more geometry. So and only we have to need to the GPU or CPU need to work only at the rendering time, so that we can work in viewport more easily without getting crashes and lags in it. This is all it is. And optimal display is like it is something which is not much needed to you. Quality is like it increases the quality as you increase it UV is smooth and these all things. One more thing, right now if I even increase it to like 4 in viewport, you can see that still it is not smooth, that is smooth. It is just increasing the geometry, but it is not smooth, and some people just get confused and just they increase it to 6 7 level to get get the smoothness. You can do it in way simpler terms, and your hardware will not get that much work to do. You can just click on the object, you can click right mouse button and just click on shade smooth. Now you can see it like how smooth this is without getting burden on your GPU or CPU. These are the shortcuts which are just very really helpful for the people who have low graphic card and less power in their PCs. This is all about subdivision, I think. Let me just see if I missing something important. Most of the stuff I have already told like this. Yeah, one more thing. Uh, Let me just delete it because I have just shaded smooth and applied it, so now it is no use for us. Let me just add this cube, and when I use subdivision modifier, it just it is no more the cube. To make it cube, what you can do is like go to edit mode and again use Control R to add the edges like uh, yeah, here. And now you can see that as I increase the edges, as I give the geometry to work with this, it is just doing its job for good. Like, let me show you what I mean. Like right now you can see that it is more cube than sphere. Even if I increase the geometry in it, you can see it is getting more and more square. So if you give the geometry to the computer, it will be more helpful for it to work with it, and it will give more geometry to it, and it will be easier for the computer to work with it. And instead of getting a sphere, it will just give you the cube. Okay, let's move on. Now we will see that decimate modifier. Mm, Let me just give subsurface modifier, and let's just go for 2, apply, and let me just turn on the wireframe mode so that you can see it here. Decimate. Okay, right now you can see that in decimate modifier there is three things like collapse, unsubdivide, and planar. So what it does is like right now collapse, if you decrease the ratio, it will just collapse all the squares into triangular shapes. Like it is just collapsing the geometry which is not uses. It is just it is for the same use. Like if your GPU or CPU is not that powerful, it will just reduce the geometry out of your object. If you have, it is more like if you have done the subdivision modifier and you are seeing the lags in your PC, lags in your frame rate, and you are unable to work with the geometry you have provided, and you have just applied the subdivision modifier, right? Like I have just uh, applied the subdivision modifier and it is no way I can change it. I need to press Control Z and do all that stuff because and it is just not possible. If you might have done a subdivision modifier, like let me say like I have just applied it, and after that I just edited a bit, like let me go to vertex mode, and I have just edited it like this, and I want to keep it. If I press the Ctrl Z, it will just remove it. So instead of doing that, I can do is, like, I can go to object mode, and I can use the Decimate Modifier, and I can just decrease the bit of the ratio, like bit of the geometry, to work with it again properly. Here are some more, like here we can just use the symmetry. To show you the symmetry, let me just use the monkey face. Let's just delete it. Let me add the monkey face. Okay, and let's just add subsurface division modifier and go to, let's go with 2. I think, yeah, it will be fine. And let's just apply it. Okay, after applying it, let's just use the decimate modifier and just turn out it on the x-axis. Let's just turn it on the z-axis, because I think one, yeah. I just click one on my keyboard, on the numpad. It will show you the x and z axis viewport, which is easier to work with. Okay. Now if I just decrease the, let me just deselect it, and now you can see that if I just decrease the geometry, it is just getting mirrored on the other side of the symmetry, like it is just symmetrical in the z axis. It is just getting symmetrically doing this, and for y-axis same, it will be doing it like that only. Like right now you can see that in the y-axis it is getting symmetric. Like, let me show you from the top. Press 7 for that, and if I'm doing it, like, you can see that it is just symmetrically collapsing everything in it, on the y-axis. For the same from the z-axis. uh this is the thing. And for the triangularity, like it will just collapse everything in the triangles, instead of collapsing vertices in square vertices or everything. It's just collapse everything into triangles. It is just used for giving more geometry, as of I know. And before going to unsubdivide, let me just show you what the vertex group does. uh, Let me just turn off this and going to the edit mode. Let me just select half of the monkey face. Nope. Let's just use the first x-ray, so that we can select even the vertices which is behind this monkey. And like, I think we have selected all the vertices. I just use the x-ray mode, which is just up here. You can just click on it, like x-ray mode, and let me just make a group out of these vertices. Assign. And let's just go back to our modifier. Let me turn off the x-ray mode. And if we provide like group here, if we now collapse everything, let me just turn off the frame. Now if we collapse everything, you can see that only this side, the vertex group, which I have provided it to this blender, it will just collapse that side only. Rest of all the vertices will remain same. Let me just turn off the triangle. All the vertices will remain same. You can see this is what it is used for, vertex group. And the factor, like initially when I was providing, let me show you. Like when I just click on add, let me see, everything is selected. Yeah, everything is selected. Like here is the weight, like I can give it is more like the threshold. Like if I give it to 0.5, let's take it at 0.5, and just assign it. And now if we go to modifier and give the vertex as group, and now it will just do not affect anything. It will just affect, but it will have the less effect till we reach to 0.5. Like at 0.2, I don't think it will just, like you can see the difference. It is just way less than previous one. But if I just do it like more than that, it will just affect the more. uh, and you can just see the face count, how many face count are there right now on our mesh. Like it is out 7,872. If I collapse everything, let me just collapse, in despite of the factor, if I collapse it, I can just take it down, to like 2000. I can just even take it to 0, but I'm not going to do it. This is what the decimate modifier is used. Let's just go to, mm, unsubdivision. It is the same as, like from the name suggests, like subdivide and then unsubdivided. So if you just increase the iteration, you can see that, it is the monkey face is just going back to its normal in normal shape before. Let me just show you. Let me add one more monkey face, X, and you can see this, like when I just, when I am on 0, it is just, uh, before, it is just monkey face before applying the subdivision. And when I increase it to like 4, you can see that it has just gone back to its original, uh, shape. It is just unsubdividing if you just mistakenly done anything wrong with the subdivision. For the plane, it is like, it is just bit complex, but what it does is like it just merges every plane on the 5-degree axis. For material, you can just define it on the other ways. Like if you have assigned them here material, some material here, and you want to, let me just add it, and if you want to just, take this much of, if you have given some other material to it, it will not affect this much stuff. And these are the things which is bit more complex, and no one use in my notice. And let me just do it, and let's just delete both of them. Let me add a cube is called. Okay. Edge split. Before, I think we need to apply it first. Let me check. Yeah, right now you can see that, if I just press G button to move this face, I can't move it. It is just stuck with this, whole cube. So if I just, apply this, as a splitter, for applying the things, you need to go in object mode. Like if I apply it, and now if I go to edit mode and select this face and press G, you can see that I can just individually, take out every side of the cube without anything. Initially without the, from the name, it is just splitting edges, from the cube. Initially what it was, initially we can't move any face here and there. We can just, move them with the cube. Let me show you what I mean. Let me add another cube. Select cube, G, X success here, and tab into edit mode. And if I select a face, and if I want to move it, like I'm pressing G right now again, and you can see that the box is getting elongated. It is just not getting, separately treated. So to make it, separately treat, we can, what do is, like we can add is split modifier, and we need to apply it first, because without applying it, it will, do nothing at all. It will just be like, I'm going to tab and I press G, you can see it is getting still elongated. If we apply it, now we are going to edit mode, you can see that now every face is being treated separately. It is just helpful when the geometry is quite big and you want to change specific faces out of it. at that time these things are really helpful. For the complex projects, these modifiers are just too good, because when you are building something complex, you need all these modifier. Without these modifier, it will really difficult. Without doing this modifier, it will be really difficult to make anything out of it. Mask modifier. Okay, let me show you. Right now, when I apply a mask modifier on a cube, what it does is just disappears, and most of people do not know what it is for. But let me show you what it is. Let's just take another cube, and let me go to edit view mode. um, right now what I'm doing is Control R and just add some. I'm just adding some geometry to show you guys something. Let me just do one more thing before doing this. Let me add one more cube inside it, and just take size. Right now, you guys, I think can see that there is cube inside a cube, but I want to work on it without disturbing all this stuff. I can't do it, and let's just say it is a bit more complex object. Okay, and to make it a bit more complex, just say E, and I just bit, just a bit. And now I want to work on the cube inside it, but I can't work on it right now. So what I can do is, like, I can just make a vertex group of these, press a vertex and just press shift button and just press on another vertex to select multiple vertices. Just selecting multiple vertices, and now let me make a group of these vertices. I'm making a group. Let's just give the factor of 0.5 again. Later I will show you why. Assign, and now let's just add a modifier, marks modifier, and let us just select this group. So now you can see is that it has just hide those vertices which we have selected from the vertex, and now we can just work on this cube. And if we want to hide this box completely, what we can do is click on this button, and it has just to hide all the stuff except these vertices connected to that, and we can work on this cube. Later on we can just remove this, or even if you want not to work, if you want to do anything else to hide these vertices, you can just use this mask modifier. This is the modifier what it is used for. Okay, let's just add another cube. Now let's just see mirror modifier. Guys, I will be back in a minute. Okay, guys, I'm back. Let's just continue on our modifier journey. Okay, where were we? We just saw all the modifier till the mask and subdivision surface modifier. Now we will be seeing this mirror modifier. For this, let me just show you with the uh, let me just show it to you with the torus modifier. Let's just see. Let me edit it. Press 7 on the keyboard to get top view mode, and on the X-ray mode tab, select all these vertices and just delete. Press the delete button and delete all the vertices. Okay. Right now you can see that it is just a half shape, and if we add the mirror modifier, it just do this. It will just create the geometry out of it. You can't edit it. Let me show you in the edit view mode. You can't edit this side, but whatever you do on this side, like on the other half, you can just, let me just off the X-ray mode. Like if you extrude it out, you can see that it is just copying everything, and you can do it on the, right now it is just doing on the x-axis. You can even do it in the y, in the on the z-axis too. It is just following all these things, and even like whatever you do changes on this side, it will be reflected on the that side also. And right now I have done like y-axis and z-axis too, like so it is getting more and more more and more differentiation. Like if I close on the z-axis, so it will just mirror it on the x and y-axis, and if even if I off the y-axis, it will just mirror everything on the x-axis only. So it is just I will say one of the most used modifier. Like I can remember this, like when I learned about this modifier is the time when I was building a car. So I just need to build the half part of the car, and other half will be just automatically be created. Merge option, let me show you the what merge option and other stuff do in it, because it is just one of the most useful modifier. Let me add a cube again, because this cube just help us understand better. Let's just do it. Let's just give the location of this cursor of this object to this side. For doing that, we can do two things. I can just press Ctrl A and give the location, then it will change it. And we can do one more thing. And let me just show you. Ctrl Z and here. What the people does is initially they get confused. Like if right now I have selected this cube, and if I change this location right now, is the cursor point will remain, it's just object center will remain here itself. So right now, the whatever I do, the cursor object cursor point will remain here. So many people get confused in the initial stages, like why are object center is there. You can just if you change the location of the object in the edit view mode, its center remains as the same as the object view mode, so it is just out of center. So it is just bit annoying sometimes when you do not know it. Other than that, we can use like location, which we use in the array modifier initially. Like if I put here and click Control A and location, it will just go to cursor and provide this location. And if we use mirror modifier right now on this, what it does is, let me just show you, it just create a mirror modifier on the x-axis right now. If I click on y, it will just create one more. Like, let me just move it a bit. Nope. Go to edit mode, uh, like this. Even on the z-axis, like this, you can see that. And whatever the changes I made on it, it will just be reflected on the others. And right now I have just on the merge. Let me off it and let me show you what it does. Control Z, Control Z. Let me just give it to the axis. Control R, adding some geometry or cutting. We can say cutting the cube and getting the more edges. And right now, if we extrude, you can see that. Let me just do one more thing. It is just a bit less clear right now. What I did. Control B to bevel, and let me just bevel it like this. It will be a bit more clear. And now if I extrude it, or I say like this, you can see they are just not merging with each other. They are just colliding with each other, and they are just overlapping each other. So instead of doing that, if you want to merge them, you can just click on merge. Now see what it did do. Let me just increase it to like this. Like see, here they are just merging with each other. Clipping, sorry, merging, we can say clipping. Just see, I am just taking my mouse on the other side of the this, but they are just merging with each other. They are just not going in the other direction. This is what clipping does. Mirror object is like, instead of like what I did was I just initially just put the cursor here, so that this we can just put the object, like if I put one more cube here and just take it, it will take the reference of that object as the mirror. Mm, mirror modifier. uh, Rest, I don't think that is more useful for now. This is all right now for the mirror modifier. These this modifier is just used more in modeling the stuff, like if you're modeling a car or modeling a sculpture or something like character building. You need to just make like in the sculpt mode. If you are sculpting a face or anything, you just need to sculpt half of this face, and it will just, here itself is the inside mirror modifier pre applied in it. If you press X, it will just turn off. If you want to just on y axis, z axis, on whichever axis you want to mirror it, you can just use it in the sculpting mode. We will be seeing some sculpting mode today itself. Let's move on to the other modifier. Let me just show you which modifier should I show you first. Let's just go in the sequence and show you the multi-resolution. Okay, multi-resolution modifier. It is the modifier which is this extended version, or I will say the more extreme version of subdivision modifier. Initially, like in subdivision modifier, you can just increase some of the edges and etc. But in this, what you can do is you can just increase so much of geometry by just clicking on subdivision, and it just give you so much of geometry. Like, let me show you. Let me just apply it. Should I apply it or not? Let's just apply it. Nope, we shouldn't apply it. And if we go to this, and now right now you can see that the base geometry is same, but right now in the wireframe, I'm in the wireframe mode. Let's just apply it. So right now you can see that there is not much of a geometry. Let me just go to edit mode and give some loops and cuts to it. Let's just give two here, and let's just give two here and two here. Yeah. And when we go here, now you can see that it has just lots of geometry right now, and this geometry is just helpful in the sculpting. So for example, like right now it has so much of geometry, like I can just work with it on, I can just sculpt on it. For sculpting you need lots of geometry, which subdivision can't provide, and there is just cool feature in it which you guys can't see. Let me show you. Like, it just initially when these cubes in multi-resolution is just providing lots of geometry, so while rotating here and there, you might sometimes can't see, you sometimes can't see properly because your computer is lagging. So what multi-resolution does is, like, it just hides all the extra geometry from the objects while rotating it, when I am rotating it by pressing middle mouse button, and when I just stop and want to sculpt something, it just bring back all the geometry. It is just, I will say, too good for the sculpting objects in it. There are many other modes in it. Let me show you some if I can. Yeah, and like last time we were needing a unsubdivided decimate modifier, but in multi-resolution modifier it is already there itself. Like, you can just unsubdivide it. This is what you can do. You can just change the viewport sculpt. In the sculpt you can just increase more resolution. Like, we can you can just go 4 for it, and in viewport you can just decrease it. If for render you can just increase a bit or decrease it. So this is just like, if you want to go for like 6, 6 is the maximum level for in subdivision, but it is not for this one. You can go for 5, like for sculpting, if you want more geometry for the sculpting, for but in the viewport you want it less, like you want 5 because your PC might might not able to handle it out. So you can see that, like, right now it has lots of geometry, so you can work on individual like pixels. Like right now you can get like really smooth shapes right now. For example, let me show you. This is a cloth simulator. Yeah, this one. So it just provide you, like, right now you can see my laptop is just being bit crashed, but when I go to this rotating, it is just not lagging. But when I sculpting, it is getting laggy, really laggy. I don't know you guys can see that or not, but it is really getting laggy right now. So so it is the multi-resolution modifier, which is just really helpful for the sculpting. It has mainly two features, which I told you. When you are moving in the viewport, it just lowers the geometry so that you do not get distracted. You do not get laggy frame rates, and other than that, it just provide lots of geometry to work with it during the sculpting. This there are the Right now we are in the sculpting mode, so let me show you some basic tools. Here are the brushes, different brushes in the sculpting mode which you can use to do it. It is, and personally I use the cloth brush lot, because sometimes it is just really needed to make the cloth effect as quick as possible. You can do the cloth simulation, but it does do the job really good. Cloth simulator, like right now you can see that it is just like it is just providing the cloth simulation. This is what it is right now, and right now you can see that in the viewport we didn't apply anything, so it is just giving us this thing because we didn't apply it till now, this modifier, so it has less geometry right now. But yeah, and we can even shade this smooth so that we get the clothy effect much better. Like right now, after shading it is smooth, it's just giving us more smooth cloth. So yeah, this was all about multi-resolution modifier. There are many other things in it, but right now we really don't need it. We are uh, bit low on time, so we will just skip all that other stuff. This was only the good stuff in it. Let's just move on to the other modifier. Okay, remesh modifier. It is, I will say, cool modifier. It also provides the geometry. Let me show you what it do. Let me just delete it and let me add the 4 monkey faces to show you the difference between these things. Here, let me just decrease its size. Let me add one more monkey face. Yes. Monkey face S G. We can also duplicate, like shift, select the object and press shift D to duplicate it instead of adding things again and again. You can just duplicate it by just clicking on it. And let me show you what the remesh modifier do. Like, let's just go in and first of all let me give it a block shape. Remesh is smooth, remesh sharp, and remesh box. Okay, let me just add the subdivision modifier to it and just go to 2. Okay, now you can see that from the name what it suggests is just remeshing everything. uh, right now you can see that there in a remesh modifier it has 4 modes. Block mode, from block mode you can see that it is just a Minecraft thing right now. It is just making this monkey face in the Minecraft mode. You can just change the scale and everything to give it more changes to it. Right now you can see it like, and if you increase the steps it will get more blocky and other stuff. In this smooth, right now I'm using the smooth mode. It is just smoothing out everything. Like, it is just providing lots and lots of geometry. I'm just not increasing it more because it might crash my PC, so I'm just taking it to this far only. And in the sharp mode it is just taking everything and making it sharp edges and corners. In voxel mode what it does is like it just again smooth out everything and it just do its stuff. Like here it is just too much of geometry. Oof, that's why I was not increasing much of a geometry. Sorry for that, guys. uh, right now the forms are available. You guys can fill your attendance, and let me just This is what happens when you increase too much of geometry. That's why you shouldn't increase that much of geometry if you are streaming and showing this stuff. Let me just open the Blender again. So you need to be bit safe. If I was doing some intense job and I was just you need to just, that's why you need to save things time to time. Otherwise the stuff, your stuff might be lost while that process. As I was not doing anything that significant, so I close it directly. Otherwise you need to wait for a while to calculate everything, for everything to be calculated again. That's what remesh modifier. You please, you guys form your attendance, and let's just move on to other modifiers. Or you want to let me just show you remesh modifier again. Let me just, I will just show you one by one, because if I'm showing all the four together, my laptop might crash. Just show you one by one. I think you, let me show you remesh modifier. So right now, uh, it is just doing this thing, like it is just taking out the geometry right now, and if I increase a bit, it will just do this artifaction thing, and it is just taking everything and voxel it out sharp. In sharp mode, let me just smooth with disconnect, and if you increase the step, it will just give the geometry step by step instead of giving all the geometry at the same mode. Let me just go you and show you in the tab mode right now, this thing. Okay. So it is just it is just sharpening, it is just giving the sharp things itself. In a smooth mode, from the name it suggests this, it is just smoothing out everything. uh, it just it is just like subdivision itself. And in the block mode, you can see the most difference in the block mode. Blocks, like it just provide you the blocks. And let me just turn off the smoothness, and you can see that it is just a Minecraft monkey head right now. Okay, let's just move on to other modifiers. Okay, uh screw modifier. Let me just show you screw modifier with two examples, because it is a modifier which might be helpful to many of the users, but they really don't know about it. Let me just go to here, and instead of, yeah, let's just go here, and let me add the vertex right now, single vertex, and we will go to tab edit mode, and here, and just press E to extrude, and we will be doing it like this. Oh, let's just here. And right now you can see that I have this shape which is not making any sense to it right now. And what I will do is I go to object view mode, and I will add a screw modifier. And now you can see this, like it is just like a fountain right now. I just made a fountain from the vertices. So what the screw modifier is just that it provides the uh, it just provide the mesh around the object you have just made. Like I just provided the vertices, it just turn around, and like if I decrease the radius from 360 to like 180. You can see this what is happening. It is just extruding out everything from the those vertices and rotating in the z axis to complete the object right now. Like for the 360-degree, if I increase it to like more, it is just overlapping with each other, but for the 360-degree, it is just completing the all the it is just providing the mesh around those vertices, which is, I will say, quite easy to work with. You guys can just take all this vertices and you can make stuff out of it. And you can even do it on y-axis. Like on the y-axis it's making no sense right now because I just made the object in for the z-axis. Same for this. It is something I can't say it is a thing I want to make, but yeah, for the z-axis you can see that it is a perfectly thing. Even I can increase the steps of it so that it is bit more smooth. Like right now it is just not that smooth, or you can even do, like I told you, shade smooth. Yeah, I need to provide more geometry to it. Let's just do this. I'm just going not going above 30 because I think my laptop will crash again. Yeah, you can see that it is just way smoother. There are other stuff like for UVs and stuff, and I told you we are not going to see the UV stuff here itself. Let me just delete all this stuff and I will show you one more example of screw modifier. Screw modifier, most of the people like to talk about it mm, with this making of the spring. Can make the spring. That is what I'm showing, but I am showing other stuff too which you can make out of it. Just please Z here and control A location, and let's just add screw modifier Z axis and just yeah, here axis I yeah. And right now you can see that it is just making a spring out of it. Like it, I can just increase the string and screwness. I can just control it like this. I can just control everything. Like it is just forming a spring. Most of the people say that it is just used for it, but I just showed you another use case of this screw modifier. Like if you provide the vertices and use it, you can just form the circular objects, which just I showed you. And this is the use of screw modifier. Let's just move on to the other modifier. Like now we have only 30 minutes to go. Let's just add a cube again, modifier, and let me show you like which modifiers are left. uh okay, skin modifier. Let me show you what skin modifier does. Then solid modifier, triangle. I think we will only be able to complete all this generate modifier today itself. We are not able to see any deform modifier or the physics modifiers. We will be seeing it in other modifier in other workshop. So let's just delete this cube again because I will be needing something else. Skin modifier. Let's just use vertex again. Single vertex, tab, edit mode, and let's just go here and let's just try to craft something. For example, let me show you. E I'm just trying to make something and show you guys what it is used for. Promise you I really don't want to make that fountain again, but yeah, I'm trying to make something. And let's just say I add the skin modifier. What it does, yeah, you guys can see that it is not a perfect what I want to make, but yeah, it is something. It what it does is just provide the geometry, it just provide the space to these things, like as I initially in the screw mode, there is a difference between screw and skin. Like in a skin, what it do is like it just provides the shape around the vertices, and in screw it just provide a rotation around the vertices or on the object. But in skin it just provide the mesh around the vertices. It can be used to make low poly trees, which I was trying but I was unable to make. It will take time, so I'm just not trying it again. uh, and we are short on time, or let me just try it once more if I can. Let's just do it this this. So let's now try to add a skin modifier, and you can see it is still do not look like a tree but yeah, more better than last time, I will say. So it just what it does is like it just provide a mesh around the stuff, and other than that you can even edit it out like in edit mode. If you select the vertices and like, where is vertex? Oh, where is the vertex? Here it is. Let's just use the Excel keyboard. So if you is let me just show you here. Like if you increase or decrease the size, or if you rotate, it will just affect the mesh 2 itself. Like you can see that you can just individually change these vertices and you can just play with it. It is just helpful. Now let's just move on to other. Let's just see the solidify modifier. This is also a modifier which is just used a lot. Let me just show you. Let me just took out a plane for it. Okay, let's just add solidify modifier. Like right now, initially, like let me just delete it again. Let me show you. Right now, it is just a plane with the 2D shape. If I use the solidify modifier, it just gives the depth to it. If you increase the thickness, you can see that it is just giving you the thickness itself, and even thickness, and these all stuff are just a bit advanced. You will be not using it more, like more or less it is just used for giving depth to the 2D object, mostly the planes and the stuff. Like initially we were making the things from the vertices. At the time it can be used. I do not find any other use, but yeah, you need mostly we are working with a plane, so sometimes for giving the depth it is the go-to tool. It is the tool which is used the most. And let's just move on to the other modifier. Let's just give a plane. Nope, we are not going to use a plane. We have the cube in Blender. If you are teaching a tutorial, you need to go with a cube. That is a compulsory rule. No, there is nothing compulsory like that. But yeah, should most of the people use it because it is easier to explain things. Let's just see which modifier are just left in the generate modifier. Let's just complete those modifiers, then if the time permits I will show you some deform or physics modifiers. We have done it. Okay, let me just these three modifiers, these three modifiers left. Let me show you the wireframe. Okay, wireframe, I am just from the initial of the this I was just talking about wireframe. What it does is like it just it just give you this wireframe of a cube or anything, and you can control its thickness and all the stuff from it. And it is just it is a bad comparison, but bear with me. It is just like if you guys have seen the No Way Home, the cube which Doctor Strange provided to the Spider-Man to catch all the villains. That is, it is the cube like that. It was a bad comparison, I will say. Okay, let's treat it like I never give that example. Wireframe, it is just wireframe mode. Like it just take the edges and provide the mesh around it. Like for example, let me show you again. It just initially we have this, and if we take the edges, and right now all the edges, and it is just providing the face. When I apply this, when I take wireframe mode, like here, it will just what it does is like it just provide the mesh only around the edges instead of faces, and we can control its thickness from here. We can change even the offset, like from here, but it doesn't do much. And thickness here, vertex group, like yeah, you know guys, like I have already explained 2 3 times the vertex groups, what the vertex groups are. And mm, I'm not going to show you the vertex group again here. I'm just going to show the what is this, like wireframe mode. It is useless. I didn't find any practical use of it. If you guys find, you can just tell me the comment box or in the chat. Let's just again take a cube, and let me show you what the triangulate does. Mm, let's go to let me just take the wireframe mode, and right now you can see that all the edges are square right now. When I use the triangulate mode, it just cuts everything into triangles instead of the square. It's just providing you the geometry in the triangle. It is just used in many different stuff in sculpting and other stuff. At the time it is used, and you can use it in for the making the geometry triangular. Like for from the squares you can make, like if I use a monkey face again, because it is just already made stuff which has quite a bit of geometry. That's why I use the monkey face again and again. Like if I use the triangulate, like right now you can see that everything is squarey and everything, and I want to make the triangle so that I can work with the more geometry. Like when I click on it, it just creates a triangular geometry instead of a square geometry. working with the triangular geometry is a bit easier as compared to this square geometry. This is all about the triangular geometry, and let's just move on. Shift A, and let's just add a cube again. Okay, we have now come to the end of generate modifier. After showing you the bevel modifier, we will be done for the day. Let me just show you. For this, I will be using the bevel modifier, not bevel tool, bevel modifier. I told you the difference. If you guys do not know, you can just go back in the history and check it yourself. Let me just use the bevel modifier, and we will be using the vertex. Guys, I will be back in a minute. Okay, guys, I'm back. Let's just continue. Let's just see our last modifier, and we will call it a day. So for the right now, I just use the bevel modifier. What it does is I just use the vertices. I think you guys know right now. So let me just apply it. Apply it, and now you can see that there are the vertices. One, two, three vertices are here. Now when you are making complex objects, you sometimes feel like you initially created these vertices, but right now you really don't need these vertices. So what you can do is you can just go to Bevel modifier, and you can just what you can do is like one, and you can just increase it, and it will just beld every vertex. Like it just beld everything. Instead of just having these three vertices, it will just belt it out to a one vertex. This is what it does. This is the only thing it does, and I really do not find any more practical use. If you guys know, you can just tell me in the chat box or the comment section. But this is the thing what the belt modifier do. It is a useful tool, I will say, because when you are dealing with so many of vertices in a complex object, you need to dissolve some of the vertices. For that, it is the useful thing. So I think I have told every single modifier for generate modifier. uh, yeah, if you guys have any question, you can ask in the chat box. And we will be seeing the deform modifier in other works in next workshop, or we will be directing moving to physics modifiers. Here I want to say that physics, generally people do not use physics modifier from modifier tab. It has its own tab, which is this one. Yeah, this one. This is the physics tab. You can just do lots of stuff from this. It is just heavily used, this one. And in the deform modifier, I just showed you the curve modifier in the array itself. Other than that, armature is like animating to animate the stuff, and other we might have a separate workshop for that. And these stuff is just useless, I will say. I personally didn't use any of them, so I don't know how important are these for others, but we might discuss these in the physics workshop, if the time permits. If the physics workshop uh, has the time, we will be discussing these modifiers. And these are the modifier which is really is not for beginners, like it is for completely advanced, for the advanced people. So thank you guys for listening me patiently and thank you and have a nice day.